Hey, yeah, you. The one still listening even though your stomach turned halfway through the truth. Stay with me, because what happened to you? That wasn't confusion, that wasn't an accident, that wasn't someone not knowing better. That was a decision. They knew what they were doing. They measured it. They rehearsed it. They looked straight at the consequences and chose them anyway. And that's the part people choke on, not the damage, but the intent behind it. See, mistakes carry shame, but conscious acts, those carry smiles you don't see until it's too late. They didn't slip. They didn't lose control. They leaned in. They watched your reactions the way surgeons watch a monitor. Calm, detached, curious. They tested how much pressure you could take before something inside you cracked. Not because they needed to, but because they wanted to know. And you felt it, didn't you? That nausea, that slow churn in your gut when your brain finally caught up and whispered, "Oh, this is deliberate." That moment when denial died. They weren't clumsy, they weren't careless, they were precise. Every word was chosen, every pause was calculated, every silence was a blade left on the table just to see if you'd notice. And when you did notice, when your eyes changed, when your voice got quieter, when your body started bracing, they didn't stop. That's how you know, because decent people hesitate. Even cruel people flinch sometimes. But predators, they proceed. They framed it as logic. They wrapped it in excuses. They called it necessary, inevitable, just how things are. But let's be honest, it was destruction dressed up as reason. They wanted to unmake something in you. Not loudly, not all at once, slowly, methodically. Enough that you doubt yourself before you ever blamed them. That's the real joke, isn't it? They didn't aim for your body. They aimed for your sense of reality. They wanted you asking, am I overreacting? Was it really that bad? Maybe I deserved it. That's the punchline. Because when someone convinces you to gaslight yourself, they don't even have to hold the knife anymore. You do it for them, and still, you stayed standing, not untouched, not unscarred, but upright. That confused them, because the plan was never for you to survive aware. The plan was for you to survive broken. They wanted compliance, they wanted quiet, they wanted you smaller, duller, apologetic for existing, but instead, you got sharper. Your silence changed texture. Your smile stopped being nervous and started being knowing. And that's when they felt it. Fear. Not loud fear, not dramatic fear. The subtle kind, the kind that creeps in at night when they replay the moment they realized, oh no, they see me now. Because once you recognize intentional harm, you stop begging for explanations. You stop romanticizing cruelty. You stop mistaking destruction for chaos. You understand it as choice, and choice is indictable. That's why they'll rewrite the story. That's why they'll minimize it. That's why they'll say you're too intense, too sensitive, too much. Because the truth makes them look exactly like what they are, and they cannot stand being seen without the mask. So let them choke on their excuses. Let them drown in their revisions. Let them pretend it was all an accident. You know better now. You felt it in your body before your mind caught up. That sickness wasn't weakness, it was instinct. Your system recognizing a threat that smiles. And here's the final twist, the one that keeps them awake. You didn't become what they tried to turn you into. You became something they can't control. Not loud, not reckless, not cruel, just awake. And that's the kind of ending they never planned for. And the worst part, they'll never admit it. Not to you, not to anyone, not even to themselves. But the moment you didn't collapse, something in them did. Because conscious destruction comes with an unspoken expectation that the target stays ruined, that the damage sticks, that the story ends with you smaller, quieter, obedient. You broke the contract by surviving aware. That's why their tone shifted, why their confidence started to crack at the edges, why their eyes searched your face a little too long, like they were checking for fractures that never came. They needed proof you were still bleeding. And when they didn't find it, panic set in. Not the screaming kind, the internal kind. The kind that tightens the jaw and speeds up the lies. So they doubled down. They reframed the cruelty as concern. They repackaged violence as honesty. They called your reaction the real problem. Classic. Because if they admit what they did was intentional, they have to face what that makes them. And they'd rather rot in denial than sit with that reflection. You see, people who choose destruction don't do it once. It's a pattern, a reflex, a comfort. They test boundaries the way gamblers test odds, seeing how far they can go before someone finally snaps. And when someone doesn't snap, they don't feel relief, they feel exposed, because your endurance wasn't permission, it was evidence. Evidence that you're not naive anymore. Evidence that you noticed the knife wasn't slipping, it was aiming. That awareness changes everything. You start hearing the subtext in their words. You start noticing the pauses that hide intent. You stop accepting apologies that never mention the harm, and suddenly, they don't control the narrative, you do. That's when they'll accuse you of being cold, detached, unforgiving. But what they're really reacting to is this. You stopped offering them access to your confusion. You stopped letting them hide behind misunderstandings. You stopped absorbing damage just to keep the peace. That terrifies people who rely on your silence to stay clean. Because now every interaction is a mirror, and mirrors don't argue, they just reflect. They'll feel it when you don't explain yourself anymore, when you don't justify your distance, when your boundaries show up without apology. That's when they'll realize something irreversible happened. You didn't just heal. You integrated. You took the nausea, the shock, the betrayal, and metabolized it into clarity. You turned pain into pattern recognition. You turned survival into discernment. And that's a transformation they can't undo. Because once someone understands that harm can be deliberate, they stop romanticizing monsters. They stop negotiating with knives. They stop hoping for humanity where there is strategy. And the scariest part? You didn't need revenge. You didn't need theatrics. You didn't need to destroy them back. Your awareness did that on its own. They'll feel smaller around you now. Not because you loom, but because they know you see. And being seen by someone you tried to break, that's the real punishment. And here's the thing they never account for when they choose destruction on purpose. Awareness doesn't fade, it sharpens. At first it's quiet, a low hum under your thoughts, a subtle recalibration of what you tolerate, what you question, what you no longer explain away. You don't announce it, you don't posture, you just stop participating in the illusion, and that's when they feel the temperature change. Because people who harm deliberately rely on continuity. They need yesterday's version of you to keep showing up. The forgiving one, the doubting one, the one who keeps hoping this time will be different. But that version didn't survive intact. What survived was something leaner, quieter, harder to read. You still speak, but your words don't reach for approval anymore. You still smile, but it doesn't invite closeness. You still listen, but your listening foretells, and they notice. They notice the way you don't fill silence for them, the way you don't rush to reassure, the way you let their words sit in the air long enough for the truth to surface on its own. That's when discomfort creeps in, because conscious cruelty depends on plausible deniability, and awareness strips that away. Suddenly their jokes sound rehearsed, their explanations feel padded, their apologies land hollow, missing the one ingredient that matters: ownership. And without that, everything they say becomes evidence. They'll test you again, of course, just to see. A small jab, a subtle provocation, a comment designed to reopen the old wound and check if it still bleeds. But this time, you don't flinch. Not because it didn't hurt, but because you recognize the pattern. You see the move, not just the impact. You understand the intention behind the act. And intention changes how pain registers. It stops being personal. It becomes diagnostic. That's when power shifts, because you're no longer reacting, you're observing. And observation is lethal to manipulation. They'll feel it in the way you disengage without drama, in how you don't escalate, but also don't yield, in how your absence suddenly weighs more than your presence ever did. That's when the fear crystallizes, not fear of retaliation, fear of irrelevance, because they wanted to matter, to control, to dominate, to define the story. And now they're just exposed. You didn't rage, you didn't implode, you didn't beg for closure. You outgrew the frame they built for you. And that's unbearable to people who need you contained. So they'll rewrite history one last time. They'll claim they helped you, that the pain made you stronger, that you should be grateful for the destruction, a final theft, trying to take credit for your survival. But you know the truth. Growth didn't come from their intent. It came from your refusal to disappear. It came from your nervous system learning the difference between chaos and cruelty. From your mind accepting that some harm is not accidental, and therefore not redeemable. And once you accept that, you stop chasing apologies that were never coming. You stop hoping for empathy from people who studied your limits like blueprints. You stop offering access to those who mistook your humanity for weakness. What stands now isn't bitter. It isn't cruel. It isn't vengeful. It's clear. Clear enough to walk away without needing the other person to understand. Clear enough to set boundaries without speeches. Clear enough to trust your nausea next time. Because now you know what it means. That feeling wasn't hysteria, it was recognition, your body clocking intent before language caught up, your instincts flagging danger wrapped in familiarity, your awareness waking up mid-sentence and saying, "This isn't a mistake." And once you hear that truth, you never unhear it.